Hello, viewers, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Bloom with Ansa, a platform for holistic growth. Today, I'm especially excited to introduce you with a personality who just warms my heart. His story is so inspiring and it resonates with me personally on so many levels, and I'm sure it will with you as well, and it will warm your heart just as much as it has mine. He's a wonderful human being, such a blessing to have in this world. He's strong, he's resilient, and he has such strong faith and connection with his God. And that really inspired me to record this podcast with Danny and bring it to all of you to learn and to be inspired. And I would love for you guys to learn this directly from Danny. So, Danny Coleman, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. And I cannot be more grateful for your time and for you sharing your story to inspire us and our audience on a huge level. So, welcome to this podcast and take it away.
Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you twice this week. I'm a pretty lucky guy. Look at that, 2 times. Uh, I am more than happy to be here with you, Ansa. I mean, it's. I hope that your listeners can take away something from my riches to rags or rags to riches story, So, yeah, I am just very thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So let me ask you this signature question, and I would love to know from you, what does the word bloom mean to you?
Well, to bloom, uh, things don't just bloom in the springtime. Things can bloom at any moment, so to speak. My adventures or lack thereof have bloomed at various times, as recently as this morning, even some new things bloomed in my life. So to be able to bloom means to blossom, and to blossom to me always means to mature or ripen, and sometimes that takes years, decades for things to ripen and for you to reach potential, not necessarily full potential, but potential that you were meant to reach at that moment. So for you to have a podcast such as this that allows people to bring their stories forth and bloom a little bit more, I think is fantastic.
Thank you for such sweet, kind, and full of wisdom words. I love your definition of word bloom. So I would love for you to start this podcast by answering this question, which takes you back to your journey, in the early days, um, when you were working and you had this back injury. What happened there and how your life changed from that moment onward?
I was working for United Parcel Service as a package car driver, and my route was in downtown Trenton, New Jersey. I delivered a lot of the state capitol buildings and offices. So consequently, I would go out on the road every day with between 90 and 100 stops, but about 400 to 500 packages. So I did a lot of lifting, a lot of lowering, a lot of bending, a lot of walking up and down steps, a lot of loading things in and out. And after 20 years, my back I woke up one morning and said, boy, I can't get loose. Now, if you're a UPS guy and people think, they just drive around and deliver packages, no big deal. But every day is like an aerobic workout, which was good because I could eat and drink whatever I want and not get fat, unlike now. But I used to be able to do that. And when you do that, it's just a constant strain on your body. You get used to working with shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain. And so what happens is that you, uh, how do I put this? You kind of just go, roll with it. And then one morning I woke up and I couldn't roll with it. And my back was very, very sore, very, very stiff. And I had no idea why. And I got dressed and walked out to work and collapsed in my driveway. I felt a pain like I've never felt before. And I just went down like somebody shot me. And I had 4 herniated discs, blood in my spine. It was just very difficult. I literally crawled back into my house and spent 4 days in bed because I couldn't move. And as it turned out, one of the discs leaked and pinched off. And to this day, I still have severe nerve damage in my legs, my feet. I have neuropathy very bad in my feet. I haven't felt my feet since January 9th, 2009.
I'm so sorry.
But from that, I lost my job because I was damaged goods. And that was the first time I'd ever been hurt or injured. So it took me 20 years. But I was forced to reinvent myself. I was unemployed for a couple of years because I was damaged goods. I was 46, almost 47 years old. Nobody wanted me. I took a job with a local hospital here in Trenton and worked through COVID. But all the while I was doing that, in between, the first thing I did was reinvent myself and revisit my love for radio broadcasting. I went to a broadcasting school I took a year off out of high school because I didn't want to go to college. And then a year into that, I went to a broadcasting school. When I got out of broadcasting school, I couldn't make the money or have the hours that I had at my day job, which was working for the Wall Street Journal in South Brunswick, New Jersey, where they actually printed the paper there as well.
Okay.
So once that happened, when my back gave out, I revisited that love for radio and began my radio program, Rock on Radio, which aired for the first time at the end of April 2009. And I still do that to this day. But through that led to me writing for a local newspaper, actually kind of a statewide newspaper. It was called the Trentonian, and it had a very far reach. And then I began writing for a couple of online magazines, and several more radio shows fell in my lap, so I began doing them. And I realized that even though the money, and I've since retired from the hospital, and I've never made a penny off of my radio programs.
Okay.
But I realized that I'm doing more of a service because I'm a musician myself, for local musicians, by giving them an opportunity to be heard, to reach out to their fan base, make new fans. So you get a lot from inside when you feel that you're helping people. Or at least I do.
Yes, absolutely. This is so beautiful. So all of that after, you went through injury, you went through, all of those tough situations in your life, right. You had the resilience. You never gave up. Rather, you revisited your old love for radio, for music, and not just for yourself. You also provided that platform for other people, for their voice to be heard. In most cases, people would just give up after, they go through what you went through. What inspired you, or what motivated you?
Well, I kind of failed to mention, and we talked about it earlier when we spoke. While all that was going on, I was going through a horrible, very bitter divorce situation. Things began, I was married for 17 years, and things began to go south in 2002. I was married in 1988. Things began to go south in 2002. And by the time it was all said and done, I was married for 17 years. And it's funny you say that, because I've had friends who had said to me, boy, if what's happening to me or to you was happening to me, I'd either be in rehab for drug abuse, or I would have committed suicide by now. How do you do it? And how do you do it with a smile? And the way things had gone for me, I mean, I was literally, I had $17 to my name between my savings and my checking. I was 3 days from being homeless.
Wow.
And when it got to that point, I realized I really had no control over anything. What I had, the mathematics didn't add up. The money I was making at the hospital didn't cover the bills I had, because they were based on my United Parcel Service salary. And what I was making at the hospital was literally almost 70% less than what I was making at UPS.
Right.
And I kept it afloat as long as I could, and I just got to the point where I had nothing left. And it was a Catholic hospital that I worked for, and I used to go into the chapel every day and say a prayer here or there. And one day I walked in and I just sat down, and I was by myself, and I turned it all over to God. I'm like, I got nothing, man. This is, I'm giving it to you. Take it from me, because I don't know where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do. I would have been living in the hotel Chevy Silverado pickup truck, and I mean, I just remember sitting in church, and I had just tears pouring down my face. I didn't know why. I had goosebumps. And the very next day, a friend of mine I hadn't talked to in 35 years called me and said, hey, I was talking to our other friend, Rosie. He's like, I was talking to Rosie, and she said, you're in dire straits, man. Let me help you.
Wow.
And he gave me a place to live free of charge till I got back up on my feet. And all I had to do was help him take care of his house, take care of his dogs. And I'll be forever grateful to him. His name was Jocko. And I will be forever grateful to him. Coincidence? Some people say, oh yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
When so many times you read and hear about certain things, they talk about the power of prayer, so to speak, and that doesn't always work out, because there's a lot of things I've prayed for my entire life still haven't happened, but there's a reason, and I don't question it, and I don't lose faith, and that's case in point why I've never lost faith.
Yes.
So it's when you're forced to, there's a book I read by a gentleman named Gary Wee, who happens to be the editor of New Jersey Stage Magazine, who I wrote. And Gary wrote a book called Beyond the Palace. It was all about the history of music in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
All right.
And he was talking about Bruce Springsteen, and when he was putting the E Street Band together. And I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact quote, but essentially it comes down to, you don't realize how strong you are until your back's against the wall and you have nowhere to go but forward. And if there's a plan B, then plan A never comes through.
Wow.
So when you're kind of forced to do something with yourself, the thing that holds most of us back, Ansa, is fear.
So true.
Well, what if I fail? What if I fail? What if I fail? Well, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do this? And I'm not saying just woohoo, throw caution to the wind.
Right.
But if you don't focus on what's important, and to all of us, that's something different.
Right.
To me, it was staying off the streets.
Exactly.
And I never, like I said, never lost sight of my faith or the people who've helped me. So over the course of this entire 23 years now, since things started to go south for me, I've always tried to give back or to help people, because I've been there. And the thing that kept me going was that no matter how bad my life was, I knew somebody else had it worse.
Yes. Wow.
So.
Wow. This is beautiful. And that is exactly what I was referring to in the beginning of our podcast when I was introducing this episode. that your connection and that very deep and strong connection. And you also mentioned that you were not, a practicing religious person who would go to the church every day, and practice everybody thinks, you should be practicing your religion, but you have that internal faith and connection with your God. And that when you turn towards him, when you turn towards that higher power, it was there for you, because you never lost the connection. It was always there, just waiting for you to, surrender fully and, turn over all your problems to him and say, like, these are all yours. I give up. You take care of me and you take care of these problems. And the very next day, it's no less than a miracle.
The very next
Very
day.
next day, your friend
Yep.
calls you. You don't reach out to anyone. Your friend calls you and tells you, Danny, come, and here is the house. You live in this house, and live here as long as you don't get back up and you feel like moving out. You can stay here. This is God manifesting in human form to answer your prayers. And this shows the power of faith that we all have, and we should have, that is so crucial, because we are all divine beings. And when we cut off from that aspect of us, from that divine aspect, we feel lost. Or personally, this is what I feel like. I feel incomplete. I feel just this body I don't know, lost in this world and not finding its way. And throughout my life, I have rebuilt my life several times, and it is so evident to me that I have this faith at my core, and God shows up in many ways, in the form of my friends, people who are completely stranger to me. I have never met them before, and they come and they do help me, because and without that help, without God sending those people into my life, I would never be where I am today. So I'm super thankful, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Jacko, your friend, and my friends who have been so instrumental in my life, and all the friends out there who are there for each other in the time of need. And at the same time, I also want to say that let's be that person for someone else that they can count on, that they can rely on, and we just make this world a better place and be representatives of God in the true sense of the word. So thank you so much, Danny, for sharing that with us. I'm also intrigued to know, and it's a sad but true fact, and it happens with so many of us, that when you go down financially, you really see the true face of those who were in your life, even if your life partner, your friends that who claimed to be your best buddies throughout your life. What happened? You mentioned that your 17 years of marriage ended when you were in financial crunch. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, because I'm really curious what happened there?
In my marriage.
Yes.
Well, my ex-wife didn't want me anymore. She wanted my buddy. And I lived in my home for 2 years while this was going on, because I couldn't bear to leave my children. And finally, it got to the point where I came home unexpectedly one day and caught him jumping my back fence. And I went in and I said, that's it. The end of the month, I'm moving out. And, I gave her opportunities to end the affair and work on our marriage, and I was told no every time. So I moved out. My children were 11 and 8. And I didn't want to be a weekend dad, but that's what I was forced into.
Right.
So I I was told it's because, at UPS, you worked a lot of long hours, especially during the holidays. So I'd leave the house at 8 in the morning, and I wouldn't get home till between 6 and 7 o'clock every night. But I always spent time with my kids and always wanted to make time for my ex-wife. But things don't always work that way. I was trying to make them a priority, and I was not anybody's priority at this point.
I'm so sorry.
But you know what? I took a vow before God and his church, and I said, hey, for better or worse, and this is the worst, let's work this out. And then it just got to the point where it was terrible. But I lost everything, because, the courts back then were not kind. So I lost part of my pension. I lost my children. I was a weekend dad. I lost my home. And there was a lot of bitter struggles because things weren't always presented to the court uh, on an up and up. There was a lot of dishonesty that occurred, and outright lies. So it became a battle. And excuse me, I found myself constantly having to defend myself, whether it be in court or to family or to my own kids, because I didn't see the need to badmouth their mother, because this was between her and I, and not the children.
Right.
I don't want the children to not love their mother. That's their mother.
Wow.
It didn't always work that way, the other side. So, I had a lot to overcome, but I didn't quit. And see, that's the whole message here. I didn't quit when my back went out. The divorce came before my back went out. I was finally thinking, all right, good, that's behind me. Let's go. A year and a half later, my back goes out. So it's once you continue, I could have easily given up there.
Right.
I mean, I was ruined financially by the divorce, was starting to get back up on my feet, and then ruined by the back injury. But I still had my workers' compensation payment covered my child support and alimony.
Wow.
So I walked away with literally maybe $100 to $200 a month out of my workers' compensation payment from my back injury.
So
So
let
here
me
I am.
understand this here. You are the one who's working from morning to evening every single day throughout the week to provide for your family, for your kids, for your wife, and you become the weekend dad, and your wife is the one who's cheating on you, and at the same time she's brainwashing your kids against you. You are injured, you lose everything financially, you lose your family, you lose your kids. Oh, my God, this is such an injustice, right? I can't
Yeah,
wrap
that's what
my
it was.
I
Yes.
can't wrap my head around it. And you are the one who's a bad person here. Like, by your wife, she's brainwashing your kids. And how is your relationship with your kids right now?
Well, my children are now 32 and 29. And I have, not that I ever had a bad relationship with them, but it wasn't what it could have been, because I was stripped of any, I wound up so far in debt from my divorce and the fact that I was, my take home was literally almost half of what it used to be before my divorce. And then the back injury came and I had zero income. And so I wound up, simple things like food, gas. If I wanted to buy my kids shoes, I had to all go on credit cards. And then I wind up in debt. And then just became so overwhelming. I was paying the minimum, and I tried to restructure. Banks don't want to work with you. They don't care. Just give us the money.
Right.
So, and if you pay it late, you're getting the late fines, or you're getting the payment goes up. And so, if I couldn't pay the first one on time, what makes you think I'm going to pay this one that's $1,000 higher on time? So I kept my credit there, somehow managed to stay afloat. But it's when you get ruined like that, again, you have to just think, well, you know what? I heard the other day that such and such is dying of cancer. They got a lot worse than I do. At least I'm still here to breathe and tell you this story.
Wow.
So it's all perspective. You really have to keep perspective. And it was funny because when I used to work for UPS, I told you I used to deliver a lot of state offices.
Yes.
And I would go in and I would hear these people complaining. Can you believe they may not give us off the day after Thanksgiving? Can you believe that this one got this and I asked for that and I didn't get it, and he took a 20-minute break. We're only supposed to get 15. Yeah, really? Is that what the bothersome thing is with you?
Wow.
That's what you complain about? Maybe he needed an extra 5 minutes to make a phone call. Maybe you don't know. So it's funny what people and right. We all think that our problems are the greatest woe in the world.
True.
And like I think I said to you earlier, in the week. And I complained about my shoes till I saw a man with no feet. That guy's got a lot worse than you do. And you got to kind of wrap your head around that. Or at least
Wow.
that's what I do anyway.
Danny, you just impress me so much with the perspective that you have towards life, towards its challenges, and the approach that you have, overall. Because it made me just so angry to hear how you were. My God, I don't even have the words. Like, as you said, let me borrow your words, that you were ruined. Your life was ruined in every sense of the word. And yet, here you are, being grateful for the things that others might not have, to have life, to have good health, all of those things. And that is so motivating and inspiring. And I don't know how to put it. I mean, I'm speechless. So thank you so much for being who you are, because this world needs more of you. And I would love to put it out there. Seriously.
There are people who probably disagree with that, but thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Of course, you are an angel. Like, you are the guy who was this wonderful citizen, right? But you are a great human being. You are a great person for the society. You go out there, you deliver the packages, and you talk to those people. You listen to their problems. It's a huge blessing for somebody who has something to vent about, and they find a person who really listens to them. And you still remember to this day people that you worked with, the packages that you delivered for, all those things, and those are memories that are alive, with you. And yet you are the one who has been mistreated, mishandled in the most cruel way. But because you had this connection and because you had this perspective, I think God was always there for you, and he still is with you. And um, so let's just change the topic, because it makes me angry, for what happened to you. But we can't do much about that. So tell me about your music journey, your love for music, and what you are doing with music right now.
The beauty about music is that it's never done any of the things we just talked about. It's never cheated. It's never lied. It's never tried to make me look bad. It's never taken from me. It's only given things to me, opportunities, sense of accomplishment, joy, the whole thing. I've been a drummer, which some people out there watching this may say, oh, he's a drummer. He's not a musician. That's a running standard joke. But I've been a drummer since I was about 11 and a half years old.
Okay.
And I've been playing a Latin percussion player since 1999, 2000, maybe, something like that. So for about 25 years.
Wow.
And when I was 12, my cousin, who was 4 years older than me, but gosh, I idolized her because she was, she was the one who showed me so many different things with music. And she came to me on my 12th birthday and handed me this square wrapped in newspaper in the Sunday comics.
Wow.
And I opened it up, and then I look at it, and there's this gentleman on the front, kind of hunched over with a bundle of sticks on his back.
Okay.
And I look at it, and she says, "You're playing the drums now? You need to listen to this guy."
Okay.
And she had given me Led Zeppelin 4, and the drummer was John Bonham.
Oh, wow.
It literally changed my life forever. And people sit back watching this saying, oh, yeah, right. Everybody said, no, it literally changed my life forever. I began to listen to that album. And I went from being what I guess could be referred to as a teeny bopper, listening to AM radio and bands like the DeFranco Family and the 1910 Fruit Gum Company, to a hard rocker.
Wow.
Now, growing up, my mom always had Elvis or Creedence Clearwater Revival on the stereo. My dad had Charlie Pride or the Platters. So I always grew up around rock and roll. But when I heard this, I was like, wow, she's right. I need to play like that guy. And I just dove into playing the drums constantly. And by the age of 13, I joined my first band. And by the age of 14, we had our first gig.
Wonderful. Look at
It was
you.
our guitar player's sister got married, and they let us set up in the backyard and play. But we didn't know many songs. We wound up playing one song, Proud Mary by Creedence Clearwater Revival, 7 different times. It was hilarious. The band was called Valhalla, and I'm still friends with them guys to this day. And, you know, a couple of them I love like brothers, and I would do anything for. But the first time I ever heard myself on the radio was through that band. And I remember it was at a church carnival, and a young girl I went to school with grabbed me by the arm and says, "Come here, listen." I went numb. From head to toe, I went numb. Wow, that's me on the radio. We were in a contest called Unsigned Heroes that was started on a station called WPST out of Trenton. And they had this, as I said, an Unsigned Heroes contest. And we actually won 2 out of the first 3.
Ooh.
But it was a popularity contest. You know, all your friends and stuff would call and say, "I want to hear Valhalla." And so we did very well. But when you do that, I just remember how I felt hearing myself on the radio for the first time. So when my back gave out and I was forced to reinvent myself, I was looking through want ads and things, and I saw this ad that said radio show hosts and or ideas wanted. And it was for an AM radio station out of Burlington County, which is South Jersey, here in, you know, New Jersey. And I called and I made an arrangement to have a meeting with the program director. The gentleman's name was Aaron Matlock. Fantastic individual. He really was. He took a chance on me. He said, "I like what you're talking about. Let's do it." So on April 26th, 2009, Rock On Radio was born. And I've been doing that for almost 16 years. And I've done over 720 or 30 shows. I've had over 750 guests.
Wow.
I've met so many cool people, a lot of musicians. From that, I got the writing gig with the local newspaper and with New Jersey Stage Magazine. And through that, I began living the life I wanted to live when I was a teenager. I got to talk to people. Now, unfortunately, John Bonham, the drummer, passed away in 1980, but I got to interview his son. And I've interviewed rock and roll Hall of Famers, jazz artists, Broadway actors, actresses, comedians. People call my radio show. I've actually got to share a stage with people like Gary Hoey and Ed Rowland from Collective Soul, Gary U.S. Bonds, Jeffrey Gaines. I mean, the list goes on of people I've been able to perform with. And I mean, there are times I just got to pinch myself. And this is important. Yeah, so this is very important. Had I not suffered my divorce, I never would have had the opportunity to have done what I just told you. So everybody thinks it's the end of the world when things like that happen to them. And I know it's cliche, but when that door closes, another one opens. You just have to be able to see it. And that's the thing. You can't look. It's okay to wallow in self-pity, right?
Yes.
Because everybody's going to say to you, "Oh, you poor thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's a shame." And it's okay to say, "Yeah, that really stinks. Man, this is terrible." But it's not okay to continue to lay in that puddle of wallow, so to speak. Right. I always told my kids when they were growing up, told them several things. I said, "I love you enough to let you hate me. I will always give you a hand up and not a hand out. And no matter what, I will be here for you."
Wow.
And it's so fun now that they're adults to have them come back to me and say, "Thank God you taught me that, Dad," or "Thank goodness that, I listened to you."
They're so lucky to have you as their dad, I must say.
Yeah, I hope they feel that way.
I'm sure they do.
There's a lot of things that still run deep from a divorce, but regardless of that, so that's how I got to this point. And then from there, I had a friend who retired after 10 years of doing a blues music show on a couple of different local FM radio stations here in New Jersey. And he called me up. He's like, I'm retiring. I was like, no, don't do that. And he says, no, I'm retiring. He goes, you might want to, think about maybe you could take over. I'm like, who do I talk to? He says, you talk to the program director at WWFM. Her name is Winifred. And you tell her that you're interested. I said, okay, when do I call her? He goes, oh, it doesn't matter. I said, why? He goes, because I already told her you're interested. I said, well, then how am I going to tell her I'm interested? and unfortunately, like my cousin who I mentioned earlier, he passed away unexpectedly last year. So, he was, and I've been doing that. It's called Danny Coleman's Got the Blues. It's a 1-hour blues music show. And that airs every Monday on the station. And I've been doing that since my first show was January 6th, 2020.
Wow.
So 5 years.
5 years now. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Beautiful.
And then from that, they asked me to do another show. And then because of Rock on Radio, which I've been doing for 16 years, I literally have, I'm sitting here looking at them now. There's like 8 Rubbermaid, the really big Rubbermaid totes full of CDs. And I've got, my inbox is full of nothing but music that people send me. Can you please air my this? Can you please put this, consider this? Please listen to this. So I thought, all this music's never been heard.
Wow.
So, at least not, as an independent, unsigned artist, you don't have the backing of a record label or a distribution label.
So true.
And so I've created a 1-hour music show, and I aired all this music from my collection, or that I'm sent. And I should mention a couple of different things that I've, from this journey. I began on AM radio. That was my program director, Aaron Matlock. I began on AM radio. 3 years in, I realized that nobody was listening to me on AM radio. They were all listening to me on their computers.
Okay.
Smartphones were just kind of becoming a thing, so they weren't. But then I realized, well, maybe I should go internet radio.
Right.
So I did, to try to get ahead of the curve. That was a blessing and a curse, because I lost a lot of legitimacy.
Oh.
People thought, they'd say, well, what station's your show on? And I would say, well, it's on HamiltonRadio.com, which was my first radio station, internet radio station I went to. Oh, so it's not real radio? I can't hear it in my car? Well, you can if you use a Bluetooth.
Right.
So I suffered that. I even had a peer of mine, say to me, look, I do terrestrial radio. I have no time for internet radio. I do real radio. Okay, because he was a writer for a newspaper, and I was trying to, get some publicity. So, you get that kind of thing.
True.
But I never wavered. I just stayed the course. And now internet radio is everywhere. Entire cities. Dublin, Ireland. And I think, I want to say Geneva, Switzerland. The total cities are wireless. They're rigged for Wi-Fi. Anywhere you go, you can get a connection.
Right.
People don't even have, there are no CD players in cars anymore. There are no more the auxiliary jacks.
Right.
Everything's Bluetooth. Everything's internet. And every major radio station and minor has their own website where you can stream the thing online.
Yes.
But yet, when you tell them, oh, it's internet radio, oh, it's not real radio. So that's a struggle. But you know what? I got to the point where I just really don't care anymore.
Right.
If I'm getting the music out there, that's all that matters.
Right.
And I do that for the local musicians, for the not so local musicians, and I go that route.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, and it one of the stations that I stopped at, because from Hamilton Radio I went to another one, and then in 2016 he moved out to Michigan, so that eliminated me doing a program from there. And so in October of 2016, or in November of 2016, I was on another station for a year, and that didn't work out well for either of us. So in 2017, I joined a station called, I have a friend who was involved with a program called the City of Angels.
Okay.
And what the City of Angels did, or does, is they help people with addictions get into treatment. So if you have a drug or alcohol addiction, they will get you into treatment.
Okay.
Then they work with the family to make sure that the family, has access to what they need, anything from food to rides to, access to their family member.
Right.
And they had a radio station that began actually when I was at Hamilton Radio. Hamilton Radio got them up and off the ground running. So I had that connection. And I had an engineer named Art, who he too passed away last year. And Art was running the station, but the station was suffering. They were talking about pulling the plug because it had no listeners.
Okay.
So my friend Charlene asked me to bring my show there, and the timing was perfect. And I took my show there. And what I did was I had my sponsors. I said, make a donation to City of Angels, because they're an all-volunteer outfit. Make a donation to City of Angels, and I'll make you a sponsor for a minimum of 30 days.
Okay.
So any monies that came in to me went directly to my engineer, Art, because he was the one running the station, at which he turned that over to City of Angels. So over the years, I raised thousands of dollars for the City of Angels. I don't know the exact amount. I never asked. I didn't need to ask. All I was telling, he would say to me, we got another donation. Here's the name. Yeah. And unfortunately, Art passed away. And then when that happened, the City of Angels, they kind of lost the building that they were in. So right now they don't have a home. So I had to find a new studio. Now I have this fantastic producer. Her name is Claire, and she is just the best thing that ever happened to my radio program, ever. And she's smart. She's intelligent. She's the one that got me going back to church full time. And she's quick.
Okay.
Like, somebody will mention something in the show and I'll see her over there typing away. And next thing you know, she's saying, yeah, here's the website for this, or here's the website for that. So when Art passed away, her and I have been, now she's not only my producer, but she's also my engineer.
Wow.
So I have that, but we do our show from a place right outside of Lambertville, New Jersey, called Deco Entertainment. Bruce, Charlie. Matter of fact, I was just with Bruce and Charlie last night at a show that the three of us were invited to support a local musician out of Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
And they're fantastic people. When they heard that the City of Angels went under, I was talking with Charlie, who I've known for years, and I've known Bruce for a couple years, but Charlie about 10 years. And he's like, why don't you bring your show here? So I do my radio program from a place called Deco Entertainment. Big, beautiful rehearsal studio, because Charlie's a member of the band Angel, which were a hard rock kind of heavy metal band in the late 70s and early 80s. And Charlie is their keyboard player. So they rehearse there before they go on national tours or over to Europe or whatever.
Right.
So they got this big room and they let me occupy it.
Wow.
And I support them, and I can't thank Bruce and Charlie enough for bringing me in. So you see, it's things like that, Ansa, where I've got musicians. If I ask them to play for me, I always make sure they get paid something, even if it's gas money, something to get them, in their pocket. And afterwards, they usually come up to me and they're like, "What the heck is this? We would have done this for nothing."
Oh, that's so
because
sweet.
I've built a rapport with so many people over the years that I'm blessed.
Yes.
That way.
Absolutely.
Like when I worked for UPS and the homeless, the drug addicts, the hookers, they were the prostitutes. They were my people. And like your listeners are probably like, ooh, but no, they were the people that I fed, that I clothed, that I bought lunch, that I when they're freezing, come with me, come on, let's go. I get them coffee, I get them a sandwich, I give them soap, shampoo, because when I was on the street, they took care of me. Everything from what they would see, hey UPS, be careful down there, to hey UPS, that there's an accident 2 blocks up. Make it, and I told you one day they saved my life. 2 kids were walking down my truck, side of my truck with pipes, lead pipes, like you would, plumbing.
Right.
And one of my homeless guys yelled from across the street, "Yo, UPS!" And he pointed. And I look in the mirror, sure enough, there they come. So I went around the other side.
That saved your life. Yes.
Literally. Yeah. So, there's 2 ways to look at it. No good deed goes unpunished. And if you don't do good deeds, you'll never have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's I try to be fair and respectful and do everything
Wow.
to treat people in a manner that I like to be treated in, and I
Very
do
true.
that with my radio programs.
You're such a
So
beautiful human being, and we are so blessed to have you in this world. And I'm so honored that I'm living in this world while you are here. And I'm having this conversation with you, connecting
you are
with
very
you.
kind.
No, seriously. And when it comes to music, as I understand it, music is food for soul. So what you are doing, it's a divine work. I'm glad that you are not no more with UPS. I'm sorry for what happened there, and but I'm glad that helped you navigate your way into music, because I think music needed you more and you needed the music. So I'm very happy that you ended up being with your passion and being around musicians and supporting them, helping them, providing them the platform that they might not have had, without you, uh, offering that and facilitating all of that for them. So you are such a beautiful facilitator and support system for so many people, for so many um, passions. I'm sure they music, because I know artists, they are such soft people at their heart, right? And what they create is so beautiful because it's coming from their soul. It's so original, it's so beautiful, and not many people out there can see that. So I'm happy, I'm so glad that you are there for them to see their talent and offer them that opportunity to showcase their music. And as you said, your email inbox is full with music that people send you. They might not never have that opportunity without you being in there. So you complete that chain. You are that very strong link in that chain. Yeah, so I thank you for that, Danny. So my next question would be, what would you say formally for our viewers, our listeners, to take away? What is your message for them? I know you mentioned many times, over the course of this conversation, there were so many inspiring moments, but towards the end, what is your message for our listeners?
It's like you got to look back at your life and find out, where did you lose that innocence of youth,
Hmm.
and how did you develop into the angry, bitter, or jaded person that you see in the mirror every day,
Right.
and fix it.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
I love that message. Thank you so much. It's so beautiful that we need to forgive more quickly. We don't have to, hold on to the grudges and the bitterness because it doesn't serve us. It kills us
yes, it eats you up inside.
inside. Yes. And then the message that what you said about music, yes, music is such a connection, such a common theme, in every single culture. And every single person loves some kind of a music. So it's the same music, it is music that connects us when we are in whatever mood, When I'm in a sad mood, I turn to the music. Maybe I would listen to different song, different genre, but music helps me, just relieve that pain if I'm in a pain. And if I'm happy, I play song and I dance to it. Again, I turn to music, for everything, and it just fills my soul. And as I said, I understand music is the food for soul. So thank you so much, Danny, for expressing and for that beautiful message. So now tell us, viewers, where they can find you, where they can listen to you. What is the radio station if they want to know more about that and connect with you there, please.
Well, they can find me on Danny Coleman's rockonradio.com, but I have a quick link, which is DCROR.com, and that'll get you right to my website. Feel free to sign up, and I will gladly send you newsletters. Or we don't spam people. I don't spam people. So you might get something from me once every couple of months, but you're not going to get it if you're not signed up. So that's DCROR.com. You can find me on Instagram at Rock On Radio, all one word, all capital letters. The Blues Music Show, or Rock On Radio, let me go back. Rock On Radio airs Sunday nights, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on thepenguinrocks.com and decoentertainment.com. And Deco is DEKO, and then entertainment.com. I have 11 affiliates. I got 7 here and 4 over in the United Kingdom that the show will air the whole following week. I also have the Blues Show and my other show, Chip Off the Old Rock, air on WWFM out of Trenton and WWNJ out of Toms River, New Jersey, but online at jazzon2, the number 2, jazzon2.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Danny. And I appreciate you as who you are, for being such a wonderful human being, for being that light in this world and sharing your perspective with all of us and giving us an insight into your life with all the ups and downs and the moments of courage and inspiration for someone, who might be holding to the rope, to the very last end, and how they can get inspiration from your story and your faith. They can maybe borrow your faith for this time and then build upon that. I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time for this episode, for this conversation with us, and just keep doing the work that you're doing. My God, you're making so much impact that we couldn't even cover in this one episode. But I'm sure folks who understand music, who understand life, they are able to see the beauty in you and in your actions and in your presence. Once again, I appreciate you. And I turn to my viewers and I say thank you for your time. I really appreciate you spending this time with us and listening to our conversation. If you haven't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe. Give us a thumbs up for this video if you liked it, and press the bell icon for all the future notifications to get to you. And towards the end, I would say my motto is chase your dreams and live with passion. Keep spreading the good in the world. We need it. We all need it. And live happy, live healthy, and keep blooming. Thank you.